Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly live training. This is me, Hannah Hips, and Sierra Spencer. And we have a really nice, exciting live for you tonight. And if you're new to the group, hello, say hi in the comments. Even if you're not new, still say hi to us because we like interaction. I think it helps to have that interaction and just to know like where you're from and who you are, because this is more of a conversation than just like us like bleh, telling you everything.
Yeah.
But so tonight is about, we're going to talk about how to heal from diet trauma with self-compassion. And yesterday, Sierra did a post in the group about when you started your first diet. And me and Sierra both spent time looking at all the comments and every single one of them. And we were deeply touched that how many of us started at such a young age, like 6 years old, 8 years old. Your parents told you to go on a diet. They thought you were overweight. And, you know, this is where self compassion comes in. They were doing the best that they knew how to do. And there is trauma that is related to going on a diet at such a young age. Even as you're older. I mean, for me, my first extreme diet was when I was 18. And, like I didn't do any extreme, actually, I kind of did in high school, but not as much as I did when I was 18. And it affected me emotionally, physically, mentally. It really does affect you because every thought that you do is based around a belief that was either imprinted on you or that you created because of a diet restriction, a certain way of being because you weren't good enough. You didn't look like everybody else. You had to fit in, whatever the case may be. It really does affect us. And that's why we call this diet trauma. And so there's a lot of healing that has to go along with this. And we want to teach you on how to heal this trauma. And if you find yourself easily triggered and you want to emotionally eat, you probably have diet trauma.
Absolutely. Yep. So, all right, I just want to say hi to some people because I know I was commenting back on a lot of people today and from the post from yesterday about like how old are you when you dieted, and I know I see some familiar names. So, just so that we can see your name pop up, if you could just say hi in the comments or hey or an emoji or I'm on live, or if you're going to watch. So if you're watching live, type live. If you're watching replay, go ahead and just type replay. But we just want to say hi to Tammy, Nellie, Milana, Erica, Melissa. So happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. We're so happy you're here. And again, just say hi, say live if you're live, type replay if you're watching the replay later. We just want to say hello to you. So thanks so much for hopping on live with us. And yeah, like today, we thought of this topic about how to heal from diet trauma because we had our own agenda, and then we were so touched, and like I actually felt really sad. I felt deep like sadness for a lot of you guys that have hey Sarah, hey Brian, thanks so much for joining us. I felt really sad. Like I know Brian, I think you commented that you were 6 when you started dieting, and there was just a lot of trauma. And so we want to talk about this because personally, when I started hearing in our own training, diet recovery, eating psychology, this notion that dieting is traumatic, I felt like it was kind of like I was kind of like not really believing it. I was kind of like, it's not really trauma, right? Anyone else feel that way? Anyone else feel like this is you're kind of exaggerating, Sierra and Hannah? Okay, no. Okay, so we're here to tell you that dieting is traumatic to your body, physically, mentally, emotionally, kind of like Hannah talked about. And we're going to talk a little bit about, we're not going to go into how dieting is traumatic, but just please trust us that dieting, with every dieting experience you go on, you're basically exposing yourself to like mini traumas. And, I've been, doing a lot of extra training and like trauma release. And so like we teach that to our programs, teach that to our clients in our programs, like how to release this trauma. But the number one tool we want to give you tonight on how to start to heal from this, like when you were 6 years old, like 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, like holy crap, your mom took you to a Weight Watchers meeting and you were told from when you were 10 that you were not good enough because of your weight and your body size. That has been ingrained in you since you were a kid. And that's sad. So first, I think I just want to take a moment to be like, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad for that little kid that was once you, right? Like, so if you could just take a moment and just be like, wow, that was messed up, that happened, and we can heal from it. And that's what we want to teach you today. So let's talk about cultivating self-compassion, okay? And this is the number one thing you need to start to heal from diet trauma. So self-compassion. So it's really important to keep in mind that during this process of trying to heal your emotional eating, your stress eating, overeating, binge eating. I know I've seen a couple of people post in there about like, I can't stop eating, like binge eating control, all of those types of eatings. That every eating experience that you do have, whether perceived as negative or positive experience with eating, okay, is an opportunity to learn about your body. It's an opportunity, okay? Intuitive eating and like making peace with food, this process that we teach you is not pass or fail. You can't, it's not like all or nothing. It's not win or lose. It's not, you cannot fail, okay? It's a learning experience. For example, a toddler learning how to walk is going to kind of dawdle and then they might stumble and they might fall down. But parents are so excited each and every step and they respond with compassionate encouragement. Like, I mean, you can't imagine a parent, or maybe yourself, you are a parent, scolding a toddler who takes a misstep and falls down. You're not going to be like, you're an idiot, get up. You would never say that to your baby. You're celebrating and being compassionate every step, every time they fall down. Okay. So again, it's important for you to cultivate self-compassion rather than shaming yourself and blaming yourself. So example, I know I've seen this a couple times in our group in particular, someone that says like, I'm 28 days binge free, for example. And that's great. But if you, on the 29th day, you binge, it doesn't mean that you start over. You don't, this is not that kind of, we do not teach that process for a reason. This is not a 12-step program. That does not work for this type of emotional eating. It does not work for that. Please, trust our process, right? Like follow our live trainings, and in our programs, we follow this process. We help you adapt a self-compassionate attitude, because research actually shows that depending on, by having a self-compassionate attitude, it will actually help you heal your emotional eating and help you trust your body and overcome body image challenges the more self-compassionate you are.
Yeah. I mean, how many of us is it hard to have self-compassion? I will be honest, not that long ago, it was extremely challenging for me to have any kind of compassion for myself. And it was like every day it was a punching match inside my head, and it was painful, right? And it can be, like Sierra said, this is a process. This is like really what we teach is a framework for you to kind of, because we don't want this to be another diet, right? Like this isn't another plan. It's a framework for you to try things on, to get familiar with it, because when things get challenging and hard, and I think this is why having this group or having our paid group is so valuable, is because you are not alone. You know, you have support from other people that are going through the same thing with you. And when you can be witnessed by other people, it can be really, really healing. If you can feel compassion from other people, that can be really, really healing. And sometimes we need it from other people first before we're actually willing to turn it around to ourselves. And so this is a process, because it is hard. I'm not going to lie. It's hard to deal with this eating stuff. Think of how long your first diet, 8 years old to now, that could be 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. It could be however long we've been living a certain way. We've been thinking a certain way because we were told at a young age, well, you're fat, you're not good enough, or you don't fit what everyone else fits. And you've carried that belief with you for your whole life. You know what I mean? And it's like, it just happens when we're young. We just get imprinted and we take it on. It could be a simple like comment that wasn't meant to affect you, but you took it as truth and you believed it as your truth. And so you've been living with that. And now, like, this group and what me and Sarah do are here to help you change that belief. You have the power to change that belief, because when it really comes to self-compassion, it's associated with well-being, increased feelings of happiness, and a greater personal initiative to make changes in your life. Self-compassion is not excuse to let yourself off the hook or to start eating anything in sight and be like, oh, well, I have self-compassion, so I'm just going to let myself do whatever. It's not necessarily about that. Yeah. It's about, oh man, I really had a hard time dealing with this. I'm going to give myself some grace and start over. And when I say start over, that means in this moment, I'm giving myself grace, and I'm going to take the next best step that I know how to make myself feel better, right? It's not to start over because I did something wrong. It's to start over because you want to feel better. You want to improve the state that you're in. You want to improve where you are. And that's really what compassion is. It's just this loving cheerleader, always rooting you on no matter what you do. You know, like, no matter what you do, they're there going, yay, you got this, keep going, no big deal. But instead, we like to take that voice, that because our compassionate voice is very, very soft and gentle. And then we have our, well, I don't even know what, I call her Snarky Sally, that voice that is way more intense and louder, right? And this Snarky Sally was ruling my head for a very, very long time. And I've had to tell her to get quiet, you know, and like, kind of be like, I see you, I hear you, I validate you, but you know what? I think I want to listen to this compassion voice. I want to listen to this voice over here because it makes me feel a lot better than trying to beat myself up. So a mistake, like Sierra said, it's not necessarily a mistake, it's an opportunity. Do we have the opportunity? Like, every chance is an opportunity to kind of see, wow, what's happening? What is the lesson in this? What is it that I'm avoiding? Because whatever we're avoiding means it needs healing. It needs to be looked at. And I will tell you, like, quick example. I'm having really hard conversations. Like, I don't like conflict. And so I avoid conflict. I'll walk away, shut down, stop talking. And I am recently going into those conversations and fighting every part of me that wants to run and shut down, and staying there, being uncomfortable, feel like I'm going to pass out, breathing through it, and having a conversation that's really, really tough. Yeah. And I'm having so much compassion for myself during that time. It's hard to face things that we want to avoid. But if we avoid it, what happens? It stays. It keeps coming back over and over and over again, right? Yep. And we work on pivoting, changing just a little bit to do something different so we can start looking at it and not having that same cycle over and over again. Kind of went on a little tangent there. Thank you.
That was great. No, so good. And Nell, I just want to read some of the comments. Like,
yeah,
Brian's, saying like having self-compassion is hard. And Tammy saying, I have times where self-compassion is hard still, and that inner critic gets loud. And Melissa said, Karen. So I love Snarky Sally. I call it like the Karen voice. Like, I feel like we all have a name. Poor Karen, poor Sally. I feel like they're always getting ragged on.
Seriously.
Yeah. And then Nellie says, I think she's talking about like having self-compassion is hard. And she's saying it is until it isn't. It's a process for sure, but it's doable. And once we begin to love ourselves, it feels so good that we never want to go back. And I think it reminds me of Nellie's journey. I hope you don't mind me sharing, Nellie. Just like when Nellie first started working with us, it was almost like we helped you with self-compassion by us showing you compassion. And it's almost like relearning and reteaching yourself compassion. Like, what does that even look like? Because I think we're so used to just constantly beating ourselves up that, it is hard. It is hard to get back into this place of like being nice to yourself and having compassion. And then again, knowing when, this is something we get a lot, is, knowing when you're being self-compassionate or knowing when you're kind of making yourself like giving yourself like just giving yourself an out. And what we're saying is that like, that's not true. You're not going to just like be a pushover and be like, oh, I'm self-compassionate, I'm just going to eat all this chocolate. It's like, that's not really the point. That's not what we're talking about. And we'll teach you how to deal with those kind of things that pop up too. But yeah, cheerleader, viewing them as opportunities and not mistakes, feels so much gentler from Nellie. Andrea says like, I don't like conflict either. Brian says eat, repeat, repent cycle. Absolutely. Our program's designed to help you get out of that cycle for good. And then Melanie says, I was always told self-compassion was a form of vanity or stuck-up behavior. That's huge. That's so huge that you recognize that, because is that true for you? Right? Like, someone can say that. Someone can have that opinion, but does that mean it's true for you? Or, so that's a great belief that you've just noticed, a negative belief that we need to like kind of work on. Okay. So self-compassion is not a form of vanity or stuck up behavior for you. Like, for you, that means I'm going to take care of myself. Take care of myself. So self-compassion, if you put it into like, let's take care of myself. Okay, it's going to have a whole different approach and feeling in your body. And I want to say hi to Sarah and Avinashi. I hope I'm saying that right. Hello, welcome. So what we want to do is we have some self-compassion exercises for you. So if you have a minute, we want you to go grab a journal and a pen. Or if so feel free to write these down or watch this back, write them down, or feel free to type or comment as we're talking. You can just put these right in the comments if you feel comfortable. So we're going to ask you a couple questions. Number one, think about a time when you were recently struggling with your eating. Could have been today, yesterday, a week ago. Think about a time you're recently struggling. How do you typically respond? Like, what do you say to yourself in your head? I want you to write that down. And then I want you to notice, are those thoughts harsh and intense, or are they gentle and kind? And feel free to share with us in the comments if you feel comfortable. Okay, so that's the first thing we want you to do.
Yeah, that's such a good question. So the second one we want you to think about is, if you had a dear friend or loved one who is struggling with his or her eating, how would you respond to her or him? And so I want you to write down, like, what would you say to that loved one or the friend? Like, and are we able, and is there a difference between how you would talk to a friend and yourself? and what fears come up into play when like you are thinking of like saying it to yourself. Because whatever you say to somebody else, you know, like you're giving them that compassion and that nurturing and be like, oh my God, you can totally do this. We get to do that for ourselves. Actually, it's required that we do it for ourselves too. That is the whole where we begin to rise up and create our own power and empowerment in our choice, in our ability to keep stepping forward. It's like self-responsibility, right? We have responsibility to ourselves to show compassion as we would to somebody else that we love and care for. And I think we forget to turn that back around on ourselves because we don't feel good enough. We don't feel worthy enough to be valued, or we're not where we want to be. So why should I show myself love when I'm not where I want to be? Right. Mm-hmm. But you get to have compassion for yourself regardless of where you are, because if you really think about it, I'm going to go a little woo-woo, maybe. I don't know, maybe not. It's like we only have this now moment. We only have this moment now. How often do we want our now moment to be beating ourselves up? Do we want to live moment after moment of beating ourselves up and thinking that we're not worthy and thinking that something's wrong with us or that we're broken? Or do we want to begin to shift this now moment to the next now moment, which means the next one will be better, because all we have is now. And how, like, this is the present moment. We don't have the future or the past anymore. It's like all we have is now. Mm-hmm. And when I really look at that and when I think about that, I'm like, well, shoot, if the future and the past aren't here and I'm living here, how do I want to be here right now? Because this is what's happening right here. How often do we want to move ourselves away from the present moment and think about the future that we don't have yet, or the past that we were at? We're living not in this moment. And when we live in this moment, actually, there's so much more peace, right? We think it's scary to be in the present moment, but it's actually a lot better and safer to be in the present moment than living in our past or the future. So why not have more compassion in this now moment more often, right?
Yeah, I find myself now that we've done all this work and we coach people now, but as personally, I find myself almost coaching myself. Like, okay, Sierra, what would you say to yourself right now? Like, what would you say to a client right now if this was happening to them? For like, really? And then I'm like, okay, I would say, Sierra, it's okay. Like, yes, you had a moment. Like, what can we do right now to like feel better? Like, what can we do right now to feel better? Right? And those are the skills that you over time get. And then that's where the empowerment Hannah was talking about comes from. Melissa says, lately, I have not been loving or mean to myself, actually indifferent. And that's actually really huge, because the goal really, like, if you love yourself, awesome. But that's not necessarily the goal. The goal is to be neutral, and you just have so many other amazing things going on in your life to focus on. And like, your body is just like the thing that gets you around, but it's important, but it's not like the number one thing you're always thinking about. Does that make sense? Like, if you feel like super just like, yeah, I love myself and I'm sexy today, like, that's awesome. And that's not required.
You do love that's not required.
You do not have to love yourself. You do not have to like all of a sudden love yourself to be successful in this journey. So if that's been something that's been hanging up, like, oh, I can never love myself. Cool. You don't have to. Never do. We're not asking you to love yourself. We're asking for you to have self-compassion and to more moving from dislike or hate and unacceptance to closer to on the spectrum to acceptance. Okay. Brian, I want to be more compassionate to myself in the moment. It is hard and I feel bad for what I ate. Absolutely. It is hard. And so this is the last step that we want to give you, Brian. I think this will help you is, I want you to think of what are some compassionate words or phrases you could use to replace that inner bully in the moment to be more supportive, maybe a more kinder inner dialogue. Like, what would you say? So, Brian, here's an example. Like, and for you guys watching, I want you to think of like your child. If you have a child, like think about your child. Think about their face, or think about a loved one, like someone that you love very, very much, or a dear, dear friend. I want you to picture their face. And then I want you to ask yourself, like, what would I say to them if they're suffering? I want you to write that down and then ask her, like, how does that make you feel emotionally and physically? Okay. So I want you to come up with a list of compassionate words or phrases that you could use to replace that inner bully. So, Brian, if you're telling yourself, like, I think you said, like, I tell myself that I'm stupid, right? Like, oh my God, you're so stupid. I can't believe you did that. Instead of saying, like, right when that thought pops up, Brian, because it's not like it's going to go away. So if anyone else is saying this, like, oh my God, I'm so stupid, or I'm an idiot, like, I have no control. What's wrong with me? Like, these negative thoughts are coming up. Two things, like, this is cognitive behavior therapy here, but the first thing is honestly stop what you're doing to stop the negative downward spiral is just to get present in your body and in the room around you. So I can say, I see a black and white lamp. The wall is tan. I see a green plant. Like, you're just like, get your brain out of the negative spiral, because sometimes, Brian, I get it. Like, sometimes going from like, God, I'm such an idiot, to like, I'm going to love myself. It's just not possible to like get there in that moment. Right. And we get that. Like, when I'm like angry, mad at my 2-year-old for doing something that a 2-year-old does, like, I'm not be like, oh, it's okay. No, I'm like, I'm mad, right? So like, I'm not going to go from mad to like, I love you in like a second. It's going to be like mad to just like, what's the next step? I don't know, angry, less angry, right? So what we're saying is that this cognitive behavior therapy, but so basically the first thing you can do is, if you're in this very negative downward spiral, is to just start like getting present in the room. And then you can start getting present in your body, like wiggle your, like, I feel my toes, I feel my fingers, I feel my breath. Okay. So like, just get present in your body. Okay. And then you might be able to get to a phrase or an affirmation like, I am doing my best right now to take care of myself. It might just be something very simple, like, I'm doing my best. Something very simple and short. Hannah, do you have any other ideas for like little compassionate words or phrases that they could say to themselves? Or I wonder if anyone else.
Well, it kind of comes up of our pause method, like last week we gave out a cheat sheet pause method of, getting present, having understanding, showing yourself compassion. And sometimes it's just breathing is sometimes that we have to do, right? Is just breathe. And I always like to tell myself, like, I'm safe right here, right now, right where I need to be is one phrase that has really helped me, because really you are at the right place at the right time because you are here now, right? Like, we're always at the right place at the right time, always. And we're exactly where we need to be, always. Something's rising up because it needs to be there to show you something. And when we can kind of see it that way, and I think we talk about all the time of being curious, being curious of what's happening, then you can shift a lot easier. And, I think just recognizing and being aware when you have those thoughts or those statements, I'm stupid, I'm such an idiot, like, being aware of it is huge, because often we're not even really aware of it. We're just saying it and moving on with our life and not even really recognizing what we're saying to ourselves. So recognizing what we're saying to ourselves and then being able to be like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I don't know if what is it? Ho'oponopono. I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. But
Yeah.
it's just simple phrases of just letting yourself know that's like, oh my God, that was pretty harsh. How can I shift it? How can I look at something different? Like Sierra said, get present, like look at something else. I often have to like shift my body, like literally move my body to another part of a room, or, like walk to the door, or, just having movement in my body
Yeah. Energy,
helps.
shifting the energy for sure.
Yeah. There's so many good comments. You guys are amazing. Andrea says, think of it, the inner child. Yes, totally. I talk to my inner child all the time. When I'm feeling really mean to myself, I like picture my little inner child inside, for sure.
That's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
So like, just to wrap up, remember you cannot fail at this process with healing emotional eating. Like there is no pass fail. And I know that's kind of can be arbitrary. Like, what do you mean you can't pass or fail at this? It's like you can't. And that's what we teach you in our program. And that's what we want to start to, teach you in our live videos. But like every eating experience is a learning experience. And the more that you practice, just to practice, you're not going to get it right every time. Sometimes you're going to still call yourself an idiot. Okay. That's still going to happen. But if you're practicing self-compassion, remember, like it's a learning experience.
Yeah. And how many of you let us know in the comments if you found this valuable tonight? If like, what is your takeaway? What is your aha moment? What is something that you can walk away with? Because even just posting that or like commenting that's ingraining something different, right? You are bringing awareness to something different. And while you do that, me and Sierra are coaches. This is what we do. We help you, like, I want to say, end emotional eating. We help you feel empowered around food. And that is what our paid program, Empowered Eating, is all about. And, we are taking people on a process because there's a lot to emotional eating, right? Yeah, it's our emotions, but what is our diet history? Think about that. How long have you been? What was that first diet? What was it like? What were people saying to you? You have to look at a lot of different things. And what we do is we gently walk you through the process to begin to unravel or untake the onion off. And me and Sierra both are eating psychology coaches. Like, this is what we do. And we've helped people. We've seen huge transformations of people, of like shifting from like dieting and fear around food to, wow, I just messed up and that's okay. And I'm feeling really good and I feel really empowered and I feel way more free around food. Like, it's possible. We've seen it time and time again. And we want you to feel that too. We want you to have that same success because, this is not an easy task to look into this. So even just being on this live, that is courageous. I just want to give you like kudos for showing up. If you're reading posts in this group, kudos. That takes courage. If you're posting, that takes courage, right? To make the shift and change is super challenging and hard. So you should congratulate yourself for showing up tonight. And, we want, like, if you can take a couple minutes here, we would love to invite you in working with us because we like have created this amazing program to help you shift from that stress eating, emotional eating, binge eating into freedom, to empowerment. And we want to offer you a 15-minute game plan call. And this game plan call is really just for support. And we'll, ask you a few questions. It's not about the sales. It's not really about the program at all. It's really based on giving you value to help you just make a little bit of shifts. We'll give you some homework, things to work on so you can actually see shift and change in your life. And it can be sometimes just a little tweak that you might not even know, and that can make a huge difference. And as we're talking on that game plan, if we think that you're a good fit for the program and you want to go to the next one, then the next call is actually the call where we talk about the program, the investment, what it all entails, how to do it, how to get in there. And that call's a little bit longer. But the first call, really, like, me and Sierra are in here. We want to connect and support you and give you as much value as possible. It's really no pressure. So if you want either one of us to reach out and have this game plan call, literally for free, 15 minutes, like pure value. Just type in game plan, and we'll help you. We'll kind of see where you're at, see what you can do, and if it is a good fit and you want to continue on, we can do the other call that actually talks about the program, because the people that are in the program right now, they are having shifts every single day, and it's the safe container, right? It's a really small, safe container that you get to be seen, heard, witnessed, felt, and you're not alone. Like, people are going on the journey with you. And we all get to be free. If you feel like your life isn't where you want it to be, we all get to change that. We don't have to stay where we are. We have the ability to do something different, to actually have the life that we want and be the person that we want and feel the way that we want to in our body. Like, we have that capability, and we and Sierra want to offer that to you and help you get there, right? It's the framework. It's the creating that life that you want for yourself.
I just want to say, Nellie, thank you guys so much. She said, reach out. These ladies will change your life. I'm doing their program now and have experienced huge shifts, healing, and transformation. And Melissa says, we are here for anyone else that wants to join us. So thank you, Melissa and Nellie. One day at a time, one choice at a time.
Yeah, Andrea says, we can do every day, will not be perfect, baby steps. Yes, that is so true. Brian says, I want more. All right, we'll reach out to you, Brian, and we'll give you more deets.
Thank you guys so much. We're here for you. Again, just comment below.
Game plan.
Game plan. Sorry,
I want more.
Game plan. I want more. Something to, and then Hannah and I will reach out to you, and we'll just schedule a quick call just to talk more. And but guys, thank you guys so much for hopping on. And for those of you that were on live the whole time, you rock. Again, if you're watching the replay, type replay. And we can't wait to see you more in the group this week. Bye, guys.
Bye.